Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome KC Sports Report. What's up, bro?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Glad to be here.
Tell everybody where they can find you on social media platform.
Sure thing. You guys can find me on Twitter. That is at KC Sports Report. Instagram is KC_Sports Report. And then just YouTube is KC Sports Report.
Yeah, man, that's great, man. But speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, man, a lot of interesting stuff during the offseason, man. What are you looking forward to, man, as far as your season from last season's recap, man?
I think free agency is always a fun time period because you have a chance to kind of correct last year's shortcomings. Obviously, we would have liked to go to the Super Bowl. Honestly, I wake up every now and then and think, how the hell did we not win that game? You know what I mean? Like, we were up by, I think, 18 at one point, and we just kind of let it slip away. And so, now as a content creator, now someone who follows the Chiefs, it's documenting and predicting each and every single move the Chiefs have to make to get back to that point. And I think just like the Niners, I mean, the Chiefs are on the cusp of it. It's just you got to nail it this offseason. And as we've seen with some of the other teams in the AFC West, getting Russell Wilson, Khalil Mack, the division's got a lot tougher. So the Chiefs are going to have to make moves to kind of keep up with that. But it should be a next really fun week or so.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're talking about Kansas City, a team that was just very close to getting to another Super Bowl appearance. Then you're talking about San Francisco, who just blew a 13-point lead or a 10-point lead against the Rams. And this could have been a potential Super Bowl 54 rematch. Like, we were just that close. Like, there was a chance that maybe this would have been the most watchable Super Bowl. But, man, this would have been something to talk about during that season, man. If we would have just held our leads, man.
Just one game away. All we wanted was that one game. But yeah, I think, when you got two well-run franchises, they're always going to be in the mix. And I would say the Niners have a better shot at getting back next year than the Chiefs, just purely based on how the NFC is. Because the NFC is wide open. Aaron Rodgers chokes games. Matthew Stafford, he's good. And the Rams are the Super Bowl champions. But they're not going to win it again. Like, it's as wide open. In the AFC, I think the Chiefs probably will come out of it. I think that they're going to be just as loaded and have the opportunity to. But the Bills, the Ravens, I mean, the Browns just traded for Amari Cooper. So many different players and teams are going to be in the mix. And the AFC is going to be really tough this year.
It is. It's pretty stacked with the way you're talking about. The AFC West is getting super competitive with Denver Broncos acquiring Russell Wilson and then the Chargers adding Khalil Mack. That is a scary combination with Bosa and Khalil Mack. Like, man, it's not looking good for KC in some perspective, but I still think you guys are still going to probably be the favorites to win that division, whatever goes on from here. But, man.
Honestly, the Khalil Mack acquisition for the Chargers, it kind of made me angry because not that the Chargers got Khalil Mack, that didn't scare me, or that doesn't make me mad. It's just like the Chiefs need a pass rusher so badly, and you see the Chargers out here trading like a fifth and a sixth, or a third and a sixth, or something ridiculous to get this guy. And I get it that they're eating most of his cap space, but the Chiefs need to make one of those moves because they need a pass rusher.
Yeah, you definitely guys do, but it depends on the cap space. Like, what's the current cap space for the Chiefs?
So that's a good question. The Chiefs released one of our linebackers, Anthony Hitchens, which saved $8.4 million in cap space. Frank Clark, who we're going to cut, but if you cut him post June 1st, you save a lot more money. I think from what I saw correctly, if the Chiefs, because they're going to restructure Mahomes' contract every single year. That's what they signed him to do, because the way that his contract is laid out, you can restructure him and like turn it into like a bonus, and it doesn't count against the cap. So they're going to have, after extending Tyreek Hill, that's going to free up more money, which is crazy that I said that, but it's just pushing it out and making it longer. But I think you're going to extend Tyreek, give him more money, which will actually make the cap space more. You'll probably restructure Joe Tooney, restructure Patrick Mahomes. You'll cut Frank Clark. And I've seen reports that the Chiefs could have like $50 to $60 million in cap space.
Yeah, and then speaking of, that's kind of interesting how you guys are able to still maintain some of your core players. But I know Tyrann Mathieu is going to be a free agent. But speaking of one of your guys that's hitting free agents, I'm hearing a lot of links towards the Niners maybe considering to get this guy, Travarius Ward, man. Like, can you give us any details of how good this guy is or anything like that? I mean, I've seen his name pop up every now and then from your guys' team.
Funny enough, I actually wrote about him last night for my website, which that'll be coming out later today. So that was actually a very well-timed question. I think Travarius Ward's a guy that has improved every single year he's been in the league. He wasn't locked down by any means, but he's a solid corner. Like, you're not going to be disappointed with picking him up. But as I kind of said in the article, which will be available at kcsportsreport.com, is that I think someone out there, whether because it's the Chargers and the Niners that are interested in him, allegedly, they're going to have to like pay him hefty. Like, his market value, according to Spot Track, is $9.9 million. I wouldn't be surprised if he got 11 to 12 a year. And I don't know if he's worth that. And that's kind of why I think, I like Travarius Ward back. I think he's been a solid player for the Chiefs. He was an undrafted free agent that, we took a chance on from actually the Dallas Cowboys, and it's worked out phenomenally. But I don't want to pay him $13 million a season when I think the value is just not there. So if you could get him, I think you should definitely go get him. It's just the price is going to be the biggest question.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of this, like he might be in the same close market as J.C. Jackson, Stephon Gilmore. I don't know. That's a little too much for a guy that just was with your team, and everybody kind of looks at it more like I was on a show with Grant Cohn the other day, and he was talking about Travarius Ward, but he says, man, if Kansas City ain't going to re-sign him, then that means he ain't good. And I'm like, I don't know, man.
Well, see, and that's the thing. Like, the Chiefs have a track history of really not spending a ton of resources in the secondary. Our number one corner right now, L'Jarius Sneed, was a 4th-round draft pick in 2020. We don't have the big name cornerback that's going to lock you down. We just have a lot of guys that are consistent and able to do pretty good jobs. And our secondary has been pretty good the past couple seasons. I think Travarius Ward's a guy that for sure is a good addition. I just have a question on the money, because I think if he gets in a bidding war, I don't want to bring him back, because I'm not bidding over Travarius Ward. He's good, he's solid, and the NFL overpays for solid cornerbacks because there's good and then there's really bad and there's really not much in between. But I don't want to pay him above market value. I think he's a good player, and if you did overpay for him, you might look at it and say, you know what, we need that. It's just the price of a good corner. But the Chiefs have too many other pressing issues right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressing needs, but then you look at Orlando Brown. I don't know if you guys franchise tag him or something.
We did. We franchise tagged Brown. I think they're going to extend him. Look for him to get anywhere from like $18 million to $21 million a year. I really hope we don't overpay for him. I'm not the biggest Orlando Brown fan. He's not bad by any means, but we traded for him, and I thought he was going to be like a top 5 left tackle in football. He's average to slightly above average, and I think he's going to get better, but it just worries me because last year when he went up against guys that tried to go inside on him, he did well, but anyone that had speed, like Micah Parsons or Myles Garrett, gave him a lot of problems. Like, he struggled against some speed guys, so that not a great look, but hopefully he'll get better.
Yeah, man, that's just like the surprising part of last offseason. You guys made that trade to acquire him after he was holding up from Baltimore. But yeah, that guy was a nice addition for you guys. I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, a lot of your offensive line stuff, it's kind of like you guys are gonna address it more. You got Joe Tooney to a big contract you're working on, and then you're working on a couple of core players. But speaking of another player, speaking of the issue that's been going on in Kansas City, like a lot of these, I don't know what's facts out there, but I've been hearing a lot of this enemy situation between Mahomes. I don't know what's going on. A lot of this.
So that article is very interesting. Now, I work at a radio station in Kansas City, and so I kind of have some sources that other people don't. I'm not going to list the source, but I'm fairly reliable. I can't confirm most of what happened in that article, but I can confirm that at halftime, when Mahomes didn't complete that throw, they threw it to Tyreek, and then he got stuffed at the goal line in the AFC Championship game at the end of the first half, and we didn't get any points. Apparently, when they went into the locker room, Eric Bieniemy just lit up Patrick Mahomes. They just started screaming at each other. So I think the line between him being this overbearing, not good coach, I don't think that's the case. I think he's a good coach. I think that the article is probably a lot of overhype. I don't think he's that, like, everyone in Kansas City loves him, and specifically in the locker room. But I think that, we've seen it before. Like, sometimes he'll just get in a shoving match with one of the players on the sideline. It's just kind of the fiery guy that he is. But it's very strange that he isn't a head coach yet.
Yeah, he's more qualified than some of the candidates out there. Like, I mean, no disrespect to Houston. Why would you get a guy like Lovie Smith, whose track record previously has been very bad since he left the Bears? I mean,
Yeah,
that's kind of. And then the Saints hiring Dennis Allen. Are you kidding me? The guy he was terrible with the Raiders. His defense is barely average. I mean, okay, I guess his track record with the Saints defense was like a top 5, but it was never special.
Yeah, I mean, I think Eric Bieniemy is not the best interviewer. I think when you think about it, the Chiefs, not trying to flex, but like the Chiefs are deep in the playoffs every single year, so he doesn't have the time to go interview with these teams and give everything because he's got to prep for the next game. So I think that could be a reason why his interviews aren't the best. I really don't think race has anything to do with this. I think, he's got some stuff in his past. I don't think that's currently what's holding him up. I just think that, the hesitation between these teams is Andy calling the plays or is Eric Bieniemy calling the plays? And then Andy's like, Eric, you are calling the plays. And our offense at times this year was not good. So that's almost like, well, is Eric Bieniemy good? Is he bad? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of split. I'm leaning towards he wouldn't be the best head coach. I think he's a great leader of men. Like, I don't know if there's anybody out there that could rally the troops like Eric Bieniemy, but I don't know if he'd be the best coach because I don't know if his offensive play calling's any good.
Yeah, that's the only question mark that they look at is because of the Andy Reid coaching tree, and plus he's kind of been around a lot of good talent. So it's like, can he actually build around a good team like the way it's going on? Like, he could have been a really good fit for the Saints or the Texans for a rebuilding culture, but it would have took some time. Kansas City's got a winning culture. They are winning under Andy Reid. So anybody who takes a coaching job out of Kansas City, they're just going to get it out of Andy Reid's resume. They're going to say, hey, I work with Andy Reid, so I'm definitely more qualified. Or Sean McVay way.
I could even argue that Eric Bieniemy might be the most qualified candidate, like under the Andy Reid coaching tree, like in recent memory. And I'm talking about guys that have gotten jobs like Matt Nagy and I mean, Brian Dable was even under the Andy Reid coaching tree at one point. Well, no, don't quote me on that. He was in Kansas City. I don't know if he was with Andy Reid, but I think Eric Bieniemy is qualified. I think he deserves the opportunity. Whether or not he's good, I don't really know. But he's worked hard enough and he's done enough to get the shot.
Yeah, he does. And speaking of Matt Nagy, I just seen him return back to the Chiefs, so that's kind of like an interesting hiring that you got him back as on your coaching staff. So that's kind of intriguing that he comes back after being fired from the Bears.
It's kind of like a Bill Belichick sense where, Josh McDaniels didn't succeed in Denver, so he just came back. Like there was guys, or no, did he not? No, he went to Denver, I'm pretty sure.
No, after Denver, he went to the Rams for one season as an OC, and then he went back to New England.
Because I remember he tried to go to, I think he was going to go to the Indianapolis, and then he just didn't. So then, but anyway, so like you can see with Belichick, like he retains some of the coordinators that don't work. It's kind of what Andy Reid's doing right now. I'm not gonna lie, if we make Matt Nagy our offensive coordinator next year, if Eric Bieniemy moves on, which is kind of what this move seems like to me, I don't like it. I don't. And that's kind of why I was hesitant to bring him back, because I know Andy's going to try to give him a bigger role because it's just what he normally does. So I think if Eric Bieniemy leaves this next offseason, because he is back for this year, Matt Nagy will be the next OC, and we'll see how that goes. I don't think it's going to go very well.
Yeah, his track record, because he was offensive coordinator for you guys, and I guess he got hired because of all the offense he had with Mahomes and Alex Smith at the time. So, a lot of his track record was impressive. But like you said, it's nothing compared to what the enemy did. So it's like you got two different play callers with two different styles, the way they work under Andy Reid. And a lot of the stuff that you guys build around Kansas City, it's like a lot of the offense is very explosive. West Coast offense, kind of very similar to what the Niners are doing, very differently. But you guys are more of a passing team compared to us.
Yeah. We'll get into that debate later because I want to hear your thoughts on it. I'm going to save the question for later. But yeah, our offense at times, like 2018 Chiefs offense, when they had Kareem Hunt, it was the greatest offense I've ever seen. If they wanted to score, they were going to score. They scored I think they averaged 35 to 38 points a game. It was insane. It was absurd. And that was the year that they played the Rams and they both dropped 50. Yeah, that offense was insane. But I don't know if the same thing would be said for Matt Nagy because he only had Alex Smith and he didn't have Patrick Mahomes was on the team. But in 2017, when he was the OC, he had Alex Smith, and Alex Smith, I think, had a career year, but Alex Smith was never a guy that was going to win you the big game.
Yeah, he was a game manager throughout his career. He was just nothing more. Even when his first start in his career, he was just labeled as a bust for us for a little bit. And then Harbaugh turned his career around. And as soon as he came to Kansas City, man, he put up some good numbers. So this was kind of like having a Trent Green on your team in a way, because Trent Green was one of your good quarterbacks at the time. Then you had one of the best tight ends to ever play this game, Tony Gonzalez, man. That dude's a no doubt one of the best at the position. I mean, no disrespect to Kelsey, no disrespect to Gronk. I just think TG's the GOAT at the position.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I looked at Tony G's stats the other day because there's a legitimate comparison between Kelsey being more talented than Tony. And I think that's a very valid argument. But Tony G played for 20 years and has double the receiving yards than Kelsey does. And I think Kelsey will probably get close to catching him because he's just that good. But yeah, it's kind of insane how consistent Tony G was at being the best. It was insane.
Yeah, it is. But then when you speak of the comparisons, I know Kelsey and Kittle are very good comparison arguments because they're both playing at the highest position. I know when it comes down to Travis Kelsey, he can run the routes, he can catch and make the plays. Kittle, he does it all. He'll block, he'll either just catch the ball at the yards. I mean, this is what makes it so interesting about these two tight ends, man. They just have a really good personality on the field.
So that leads me to my question. Who do you think is better? Because I've had this argument and I've gotten to the point where I don't even see it as an argument anymore. I think Travis Kelsey's eclipsed that. And I think part of it is because George Kittle isn't healthy a lot of the time. But I just don't think it's really an argument anymore. We'll talk about it, I'm sure.
I know there's different opinions. I know Travis Kelsey's a red zone threat. He's been the most consistent player, very durable. George Kittle, we already know when he's healthy, he can do it all. I mean, I don't know, man. I could just say Kittle, but then that would be biased on me of saying it. But the guy's never healthy, so I could just give the lead to Kelsey because he's been the most consistent player for you guys.
Well, I mean, let's say both are healthy. Both are 100% healthy. That that they're going to stay healthy. Who would you pick?
That would be a tie between them because Kittle and Kelsey. But then if I had to go by the red zone difference, I think Kelsey would barely get a little tip of it over Kittle.
Because my thing is, I think Kittle's a good tight end. I think he's very good at blocking. I think Kelsey's blocking is a little underappreciated. He's a very good blocker. And the year that I think it was last year, he had one of the higher tight end blocking grades. But also, I think we kind of don't think about how insane it is that a man that is so big is able to just be so light on his feet and expose guys that are much faster than him, like the linebackers. He will destroy a linebacker. You can't guard him. He will find a way to get open. And I don't think we've seen a tight end in NFL history like Travis Kelsey. I think he is arguably the most talented of all time.
Well, he's the most gifted one out of all of them, but Kittle's the more jack of all trades. I mean, Kittle's been, I mean, but Kelsey's been around a while, so there's a difference, and he's elevated himself. I think he was either a third round pick from Cincinnati. The only problem with him was the off the field issue as a draft prospect. But you guys took that flyer, rolled the dice, and hoped that this kid would pay off, and he's ended up being one of your best tight ends besides Tony Gonzalez. So I mean, I'll give him his credit.
I think you could argue that he's better. I really do, and I love Tony G. I think Tony G is the best right now, like of all time. But I think by the end of Travis Kelce's career, like he's got 5 or 6 consecutive seasons of 1,000 receiving yards. That's absurd. Like no one's ever done that before. He's broken the tight. George, that year that George Kittle broke the tight end receiving record, everyone kind of like lost their mind and everything like that. But we seem to forget that Kelce broke it an hour before. Remember that? Because he broke the record, and then Kittle got it just shortly after, and then like 2 years later, Travis Kelce like put up like 200 more yards. Like it is insane what Travis Kelce's been able to do, and I like George Kittle, but I also think it kind of comes down to like how valuable one is, and I think what Travis Kelce's skill set is more valuable to a team than what Kittle does.
Yeah, like when you look at Kelsey, I mean, I'm not going to deny it. I mean, this guy's been the most consistent tight end. He's been durable. He's been available. I like the way he runs his routes. Like, that's what makes him outstanding as a tight end. Compared to Kittle, I like that he blocks and does everything consistently. He's not selfish for a lot of targets. He gets the job done. But like you said, you made a good argument. This guy, Kelsey, has had 5 consecutive 1,000-yard season, and he's a red zone threat. So a couple of years ago, you could have made an argument that maybe Kittle was a bit better. But now that I kind of see what you're saying consistently, he's been a red zone threat. He's broken the tight end record. Man, it kind of makes me makes it sound like I'm going to get heat for this. But I might have to say Kelsey's just a little bit better than Kittle at this point. But Kittle, when healthy, he's very consistent for us, and that's what makes him outstanding.
Yeah, I think also like Shanahan doesn't, if he is the great, like if Kittle is as good as like what we think he is, like why don't they target him more? You know what I mean? Like go after the guy.
Yeah, that's the thing about Kittle. It's like we haven't been giving him much targets, even when he only missed a few games at best. But even at the time, he could have still produced. And I just see the difference of what people have said. Like a couple of years ago, if Kittle was at his best or healthy, then you could definitely go with that argument. But now that Kelsey's just been very consistent, and he's been Mahomes' go-to guy. Mahomes always trusts him on third downs or other plays, where you guys need to move the chains. That's the guy you can count on. And if you need the big plays, you go to Tyreek Hill. But most of what Kansas City does is just Mahomes has everything around him. Just the defense needs to improve a little bit. Like, what's your thoughts of your defense, man? I've seen a lot of this run defense been terrible, little secondary issues.
The defense last year, the back end was good. Stopping the run actually wasn't the problem. It was we couldn't generate any pressure. Frank Clark, the biggest money pit we've ever given. Funny enough, you guys, we traded you our money pit of D Ford. I don't think that worked out very well. Yeah, it's just, it's insane how like the past couple pass rushers haven't exactly been the best. We need to find someone that can generate consistent pressure because that's been the biggest thing for the Chiefs. And you can see it in the playoffs. Like the game, Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times against the Titans, got sacked once against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, and they got sacked, I think, 8 times in the Super Bowl. That's a problem. You can see where the problem is, how the Titans D-line's up here, the Rams D-line's up here, and yours is way down here.
Down there. Yeah,
to elevate that.
I've noticed that part of the Chiefs defense, a little bit of the pass rush, man. But, man, I hate the fact you guys just gave us, you fleeced us on that damn trade. That D4, man.
What we got. Was it a second-round draft pick?
Second-round pick, but you got Frank Clark out of it, who turned out pretty good at the time.
I get the price of a Super Bowl, I guess. Frank Clark has really been disappointing. Did D Ford have, how many sacks did he have in San Francisco?
In his entire tenure with us, 9.5 sacks. He's never been healthy.
9.5?
Yeah, his only season he had was in 2019 where he had 6.5 sacks, but he was mostly doing rotation because of the I guess the issues with his back or whatever he had, or his arthritis. This guy had some issues, and you guys didn't even give us no clue. You took the deal like, oh man. I thought he would have been good for us at that point, but man, it's one of those risks that you take those chances on, man. It just backfired us a little bit.
Well, I think if I've compiled Frank Clark's last two seasons, he has 9 sacks, and he's played at almost every single game. So he just sucks. That's the problem. We need to get rid of him because he's not good. We're gonna cut him, get that money. I hope we go sign a pass rusher that can do consistent work. The draft's gonna be interesting. But honestly, something that I'm kind of worried about that no one else is really talking about, and specifically Chiefs fans, which kind of surprised me. If Tyrann Mathieu leaves, and I think him leaving is a good thing at this point because he's going to want to get paid. And I'm telling you right now, he was all-pro his first 2 years in Kansas City. Last year, he wasn't bad, but he just wasn't very, elite. He's still a good player. He'll always probably be a good player. But he's not worth top safety money. And if he gets that, good on him. But that's kind of why I want the Chiefs to move on because it's not worth paying him. And I think if he does leave, the Chiefs need to go get a safety. And I want it to be Marcus Williams. I think he is really good. And I want to see the Chiefs get a couple different safeties.
Yeah, you got besides that, you can get a Justin Reeves from Houston too. So that could be another guy out there.
Yeah. Honestly, just getting that depth because our third safety is Dan Sorensen. If you watched any Chiefs games last year, that game against Buffalo, he gave up 2 really bad touchdowns. One he just gave up. It was kind of like an old man who just got beaten and he just gave up. It was not good to watch.
Yeah, I guess I've seen his name pop up. He's just not a very good player. He's the kind of guy you can just plug in and he just does good against the run, but doesn't cover. That's the only downside of him.
He used to be better. We call him Dirty Dan because he always comes out with a big play. In almost every single divisional game, he comes up with a big play. And in the divisional game against the Texans in 2019, he had that fake punt stop and it gave the Chiefs the ball. But he's got those marquee big time plays. It's just he's too old. He's past his prime.
Yeah, there's a lot of players that you still have at this point of their career. There's quite a few older veterans. I mean, now that Kelsey's he's still got it, but he's in his 30s, but he's still producing. There's quite a few of your key players that you guys still have that are still going to be viable. But speaking of one of your top 5 favorites of your Chiefs, man, which ones would you put in your top 5
of all time?
Yeah, for the Chiefs.
Mahomes is number 1. Mahomes is, I guess you could argue that he's not the best yet because I never got to watch Derek Thomas play. That just shows you how young I was. But Derek Thomas is up there because from what I've seen on tape, he's just phenomenal. Jamal Charles, Tony G. I didn't watch a ton of Tony G, but I've seen highlights and everything like that. Travis, and honestly, a player that no one's gonna really know probably, but I was a huge Dwayne Bowe fan. I was a big time Dwayne Bowe fan. And he was actually a pretty good receiver.
Yeah, he was for a while, and then he went to Cleveland. He didn't do squat after that. But yeah, when you talk about those players, man, Tony G to me just stands out above the rest. But there's a lot of good Chiefs players at the time. Like you said, Derek Thomas, he was very good. And then you had this one running back, Priest Holmes, who I was a big fan of this guy. And then, I don't know, at the time, I was kind of skeptical watching how you guys would play every year when I was a kid, watching Casey play the Raiders, or I would watch my Niners play. And I would always have that little mentality like, hey, come on, Tony G, come on, man, beat the Raiders or something like that. And I would watch this guy play, dude. I'll tell you what, watching Tony G in my football days as a kid, dude, were like the greatest times to watch, dude. This guy would play this game at the highest level. And he would dunk the end zone, catch the ball, make it look effortless, bro. That dude was
honestly, we don't talk about it enough. Priest Holmes had one of the best 2-year stretches in NFL history. He had 31 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah,
it was absurd.
Yeah, he was a touchdown machine. Before Alexander broke it, this guy was ridiculous, dude. You speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, man, you guys were known as the running back university, dude. You would produce running backs at the running backs in those 2000 eras. Like you had Larry Johnson killing the lead, dude. Jamal Charles, speed as a bullet, bro. This guy was killing it. And then Kareem Hunt, unfortunately, whatever happened, man, that guy was a beast too. I don't know what is it about KC, but man, you guys are missing those formulas, those running game formulas.
We have always really kind of had a knack for the running back position. Jamal Charles, I think he averages the most yards in NFL. He had like 7.2 or something absurd like that. And I Kareem Hunt, I hope comes back because apparently there's some rumor that they're going to cut him. But I think what happened with him was unfortunate. The guy that we have now, Clyde, I'm not the biggest fan of. He's average. I don't think he's very good. And our offensive line's pretty good at run blocking, and he just hasn't really excelled. But, you know, the Chiefs are in a position where they have other needs, and they don't need to upgrade from an average running back at this point, especially because, like, with Mahomes, you're throwing the ball. You're not running the ball.
Yeah, man, that's a lot about this offense, but you guys are mostly a pass team under Andy Reid, but I think you guys need to be a little more balanced of an offense, and I think you guys will get back to the Super Bowl. But yeah, your running game has to depend on how it goes, man. But usually you depend on Mahomes to just throw the ball, sling it in like 40 times a game or more. Do this guy. I mean, no disrespect to Mahomes. This guy is definitely carrying you guys, and he's putting this offense behind his back.
I think that's the biggest only a problem that like we have, but like Mahomes carries us too much. Like I think that's the problem. Like Chiefs fans, like, oh, we got Mahomes, we're fine. No, that's not fine. Give him a defense. If you gave him an elite defense, we would win the Super Bowl every single year. Because what we've been able to do with a bad defense to mediocre defense is insane.
Yeah, you know what? Your argument is right, dude. If your defense was good, like the way it was built, like the Niners defense, dude, I think you would have guys won like at least multiple Super Bowls by now. But your defense has been your Achilles heels. Like at one point you had a run defense issue, but then you said it's just a pass rush now. And then some of your secondaries, but you don't go for the big names a lot. So you got a guy you just drafted in the fourth round from La Tech, like that Snead guy, and he's not a big name you just talked about. Travarius Ward, not a big name, but he's going to get a big market out there, which is ridiculous. I don't know how you're going to get some guys like that, man. I don't know how they overvalue players like that, man.
I don't know, but I think Veach, who is our general manager, I think his mindset's, I've gotten these guys before. I'll do it again. You can spend the big money. I'll get them for cheap. I think that's kind of what he's leaning at. But, you know, to say that we couldn't have upgraded from Travarius Ward, that's just a lie. We could have. He did the job. He did the job really well in 2021. Arguably one of the better corners this year. But I think it would be foolish to pay him big time money.
Yeah, it would for some reasons. But then looking at one of your best D line right now is Chris Jones, man. He's probably the only one you guys got that's one of your best defenders.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good. If he would have played inside instead of at defensive end all season instead of just midway through when they transitioned him back, he would have had like 15 sacks. He would have been in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. But that just shows you how bad our pass rush was, that we thought that taking the second best interior defensive lineman in football and kicking him to an edge rusher, we thought that would solve our problems. No, it didn't. And it's because Chris Jones can't do everything. And think about how good Chris Jones would be if you gave him some talent on the edge. That would just take the pressure off him, because if you had that guy that could win one-on-one matchups, it would just be over, because then eventually they're going to have to start like just playing everyone even. And that's when Chris Jones would thrive.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that's going on with this Niners team too, man. We're sliding Eric Armstead at the edge rush a little bit too, but then late in the season he's starting to show his poise as the inside rusher, which he should already stuck with the inside pressure side. I mean, this guy was consistent as soon as they kicked him inside. But like you just said, Chris Jones, he's effective as an inside rusher, just like Armstead should be too. So, yeah, I don't know what's with these coaching staffs. They expect him to do so much. But like you said, Chris Jones, you thought he would solve the issue by kicking in at the edge when he's more effective as an inside rusher.
Yeah, just not great coaching decisions. Not great coaching decisions at all.
It's not, man. But yeah, a lot of that stuff Termins, yeah. See, he even says Chris Jones is better than Armstead. I agree. Armstead's kind of like, I don't know. I wanted Buckner back, but man, we got to stick with Armstead.
Buckner's been pretty good.
Yeah, he's a beast, man. Like for the Colts, yeah, he's really good. It's kind of ridiculous how I don't know if Buckner was actually going to take a big contract. I think he was willing to meet up halfway with the deal, but I think we decided to go cheaper and say, we're going to keep Armstead. Armstead's not going to ask for too much, and I think that's what kind of like really kind of pissed us off as Niners fans. Like, man, we could have just kept Buckner, let Armstead walk. Damn it.
Who was the first round draft pick that you guys drafted? Defensive lineman, interior guy?
Oh, you mean Kinlaw, right?
Yeah. How has he been?
Knee issues. It's kind of been the problem, but he had successful surgery. It's something with the arthritis knee, something that's been lingering issues, but hopefully it's fixed. He's kind of been a solid run stopper, not quite your pass rusher, just a guy who can stop the run and clog everything.
Okay. So definitely not the kind of guy that you would have hoped for, but he's been all right.
Yeah, he's been all right. Like, he's had a couple of field goal blocks, and he's been very good against the run. He's only had 1.5 sacks ever since he's came into the league, but he's never been healthy, so that's the only downside of him.
Well, hopefully he'll get healthy and have a chance to thrive.
Yeah, we're hoping for it because DJ Jones is going to hit the market, and this guy's going to probably get some top dollars. This guy is the one guy I don't want to see leave, but it is kind of ridiculous how you look at it. I guess Buckner wasn't quite a good run stopper, but that dude was a beast as a pass rusher. So maybe that's what they looked at was run stopper. But DJ Jones is going to probably expect top dollars. So he might get some top dollars for the D tackle market because he's ascending. He was a guy we drafted in the 6th round out of Ole Miss. So he's definitely going to get a top pay elsewhere. Same can be said about Lincoln Tomlinson. That guy is definitely going to hit the market and hit it to Billy Scott. Huge shout out to my boy Billy Scott, the Titans fan. I think you know who he is.
Yeah, I know who Billy is. What's up, Billy? Your dog is suck. No, I'm kidding.
It's good to see Billy Scott, man. I haven't seen that dude in a minute. Yeah, man, it's good to get a good vibe of the outcome, dude. The draft's going to be more exciting, dude. This is why I'm trying to look for more ways to build this offseason more and get more other fans to debate good football, man. You know your stuff, so you definitely have a good understanding of your team. So it's pretty cool, man. So, like, speak of your what you were gonna say like later. Want to just debate about the offense you were talking about, the explosive part?
I wanted to have the Kelsey Kittle debate. I just kind of wanted because that's always something that because you'll see like a Twitter post that'll be like retweet for Kittle or like for Kelsey or something like that. And like there will be so many people saying Kittle, and I just don't understand the reasoning anymore because I feel like what I don't think blocking is more valuable than receiving.
Because you look at the stats, and Kelsey is consistent when it comes as a route runner and catches the ball. But when Kittle's healthy, he's a beast too. So, yeah, I guess people don't look at blocking as a good stat because it's the most underappreciated spot. Because when you play in this offense with Shanahan, you have to block. So, of course, you're going to have to get some stuff like that. But for a guy like Kelsey, like you said, he doesn't get much talk about as a blocker, right? Like you said, he's one of those underappreciated blockers, right?
I mean, he's a good blocker when we ask him to block, but why would you ask the best tight end in football to block? Let him go run routes. Like, it just doesn't make sense for us to say, we're going to use your talents to go block another guy so we can free up another guy to catch the ball. No, we're going to give you the ball because you're the best. Like, I think blocking is important, but I think it's also just, it's not really what a tight end is anymore. It used to be a tight end's job was to block. Now a tight end has basically become another wide receiver. And that's why you're seeing guys like, I think Darren Waller is really good. I think Darren Waller and George Kittle are pretty comparable. You see Mark Andrews, like these guys can catch the football and they can block, but that's not what they thrive in because it's not really the position anymore.
Yeah, definitely is. I mean, tight ends in today's NFL, they are starting to become more like wide receiver type numbers. Like, look at Travis Kelce, Kittle. They're putting ridiculous stats. Darren Waller, you just brought up. This guy has speed like a wide receiver. I think Darren Waller was a receiver coming out of Georgia Tech, and he had a switch from tight end, which was a good transition. And then you had Mark Andrews, which I'm an Oklahoma bias. This guy is a beast. Probably one of the better receivers for Baltimore. If I had to go by who was the better receiver, Marquise Brown was a good deep burner, but as far as Baltimore's consistent target guy, it was always Mark Andrews. So that's how I looked at it.
Yeah, and Darren Waller can fly. He's probably the fastest tight end in football right now. Like he can move, and he's really, really good. He's really good.
Yeah, I had him on my fantasy team a couple of times, and this guy was giving me some big amount of points. So this guy was consistent, and he was the better weapon. Oh, CG, I'm not here to twist your nibble. This guy's funny. You gotta like my boy Tommy, the titty ants. Oh man, this is that's what I like about all my followers, man. They got some good funny humors. Huge shout out to my boy Tommy with the $2 donation, man. Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs, dude, this is what I definitely like about your team in general. I didn't kind of seem as bitter with the Super Bowl loss like most of the Niner fans are. If it was that other game, like the Baltimore Ravens, I'm still going to get better by that. But for some reason, I have a little special heart for Kansas City, because of my brother. He liked that team also. Quite a few of my other families who are KC fans. So I don't have no hate against you guys like most of you guys would think.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same for the Bucks. No, I'm not the biggest Bucks fan after last year, but honestly, like losing that Super Bowl hurt like really, really badly, but winning it the year before was a lot better. And I watched Super Bowl 54 highlights the night that we lost because it's just like, all right, we got to feel the rush again. But yeah, that time was so awesome just because like everything, it was pre-COVID. It was a month and a half before COVID or something like that. So it's just kind of like that time period will always be special. And the way the city kind of came together, like it was a really special time. And you guys have been consistent. I think you'll get back there soon.
Hopefully, man. I mean, there's just a lot of things I look at, Kansas City. I think you guys are still going to be good, even though this division will be tough, but it depends on Denver if they can actually capitalize. The Chargers, I don't know what to expect out of them. Like they seem like a really good team, but they choke and they don't play good consistent. Like I want to see how consistent they can play with Justin Herbert before I'm more convinced. And as far as the Raiders, I just don't know, man. It's like they kind of give you the flashes of maybe they are playoff worthy. Then I don't know, man. It's like I don't see consistency. Like I like Derek Carr. Don't get me wrong. He's a good player, but just not the kind of guy you expect to carry a team and take you further. Nah, he's the kind of guy you build around him, and then maybe you guys have a chance to make the playoffs and go from there. That's how I look at it. But Patrick Mahomes, you can build a team around him, and this guy will take you further.
Yeah, I think the Raiders are screwed. Like they don't have the talent to compete with now the Broncos and the Chargers. I think the division is going to finish with Chiefs 1, Chargers 2, Broncos 3, and Raiders 4. I think the Broncos will be better. I honestly could see all three or four teams making the playoffs from the AFC West. The AFC West is the best division in football, and it used to be the NFC West that was the best. I think now the AFC West is just significantly better because like everybody, like Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and Derek Carr's no slouch. Like it's kind of absurd how good this division has become quickly.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything about it, man. This NFC West is the best division when it comes to defense and the way we play. But you guys have the more explosive stuff, so that could be the more intriguing part. And as far as your prediction, man, like you just said, that the AFC West could have 3 teams, but the Raiders, man, I hope you're right about that one because last season you had 3 of the NFC West teams going to the playoffs, just not Seattle. So hopefully you're right about that one.
Yeah, I think I don't think the Raiders coaching staff's any good. And I don't think that I just don't think that they're going to be able to keep up with everybody else.
Yeah, the coaching staff, that's the most questionable mark. I mean, it seems like an intriguing hire because Josh McDaniels doesn't usually take any jobs, but you're like figuring like, has he matured ever since that Broncos job? I mean, we'll wait and see what happens. But that's the one questionable mark is Josh McDaniels going to be a different coach this time? Because the last time he was coaching, he made some ridiculous trades, getting rid of Jay Cutler for Kyle Orton, getting rid of Brandon Marshall for what they gave up for. And then he drafted Tim Tebow, who was just big name hero guy, but wasn't like an elite quarterback. I mean, I don't know how this guy was overhyped. It was the touchdowns or whatever he did at Florida winning national championship, but for whatever reason, he thought he would be the guy. And man, that was ridiculous by Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be very good. I don't think he's a very good coach. I don't think he's a very good coordinator. When was the last time you're like, damn, that Patriots offense? Whoa, maybe a decade ago, almost like 15 years ago when they went almost undefeated. Like that was a good offense. But they haven't, I mean, I guess they've won Super Bowl since then, but their offense wasn't really the reason why they won. It was more just like manage the game. You had Tom Brady. He was going to do his thing. And then just the defense. Like Josh McDaniels, I don't think is really that good. And I remember seeing his play calling with Cam last year. It was terrible. Like really, really bad. I just don't think he's going to be very good.
That's the one questionable mark, but we'll see what he can do with Derek Carr, unless Derek Carr is going to be traded. So we'll see.
Yeah.
There's been talks that maybe there's some teams pushing for Derek Carr, like the Colts are in the mix also. There's different kind of mix of buzz, but maybe it's not the case. Maybe the Raiders are very sold and they're going to give him his contract.
I'd be interested to see if Derek Carr could win a Super Bowl with like the Colts. Because the Colts have the team. The Raiders really don't have the team, but I think it's odd. Like, I don't know why the Raiders aren't really as successful. I think coaching has actually a pretty big part in it, and I don't think Josh McDaniels is the answer there.
It's a lot to do with the front office, too, because the guy who owns the team is pretty much a clueless guy. So.
Yeah, terrible haircut, too. Needs to get
that. And terrible car taste, too, man. Like, who drives a teenage car? Come on, man.
What does he drive?
He drives one of those, I forget what it was, like the little small bug cars or something.
Yeah, that's California for you.
Not Las Vegas now, but yeah. But
yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
And then he kind of reminds me of the guy from that. What is it? The wimpy kid guy character. I forget his name, with the little funky hair. That rally dude. Yeah, like he's all grown up owning that franchise.
yeah, for real. Yeah. I don't think he's very good, and that is a problem. And you saw the Vegas portion of the football. It has not exactly been the best experiment yet with all the different distractions off the field, and yikes, not good.
Yeah, that's what it is. But speaking of your draft crush, man, like is there anybody a player that comes to mind that you want the Chiefs to draft?
I haven't done a ton of draft prep yet. The couple names that stick out are wide receiver Jamison Williams from Alabama. If you can get him, that'd be a really good pickup. And then safety Daxton Hill from Michigan. I think he'd be really good in this defense.
Yeah, that'd be intriguing. I mean, you guys do need another good receiver to complement Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, so that would be a nice, intriguing option in your secondary with a safety for Michigan. That would be nice. Yeah, that's kind of intriguing how you look at it, man. Like Kansas City, I think they're still a team that can still be pushing, but then you got Buffalo that's on the rise. Then the AFC West, it could be pretty stacked. Like you said, it could just have 3 teams making the playoffs. So that could be the more intriguing part about it. So, yeah, dude, like what I like about Kansas City is as long as Andy Reid is still coaching, I still think you guys are going to make the playoffs every year.
Mm-hmm. And when you're in the playoffs with Patrick Mahomes, you have a chance. I've never said that with Alex Smith. I've never said that really about anybody else. But when you have Patrick Mahomes, you always have a chance.
Yeah, there's always a chance with Patrick Mahomes, but a lot of everybody's saying, what's up, man? Everybody's just having a good opinion about the Chiefs. I think you guys are still going to go first place because as long as Patrick Mahomes is still here, it's going to be any given chance. But you'll still make the playoffs. I'm not very sure about the Broncos. I got to see how Russell does with Denver. It's a different culture, so maybe there is a lot to look forward to. I do have Denver as a team who can make the playoffs because Russell can elevate, but I don't know if he'll win the division.
I think they could make the playoffs too. I think they're talking about Super Bowls. They haven't made they haven't beaten us in like 6 years. They haven't won in the last 13 games. That should be their first goal. But they're going to have a good chance. I think we'll probably split with them, which I haven't said in the past 6 years, but they'll probably split with us, and they'll be a team to watch. But Chiefs I think they're better, like still, because they have the best quarterback on the planet.
Yeah, they do. But I guess Tommy's asking you this one question. Explain the Chiefs choking in the AFC Championship game.
honestly, that was the only game that I've ever seen Patrick Mahomes not finish. Like in the first half, like he could do no wrong. It was absurd, but he just kind of like they fell off in the second half. I think he kind of pressed a little too hard, like tried to do too much, and the coaching decisions weren't good. I think the play calling got stalled. I think that was a big reason too. But also like I don't blame the defense for losing that game, but you can't sack Joe Burrow once. Like it was a combination of things. And whenever the Chiefs lose a game, it's not one thing. It's a lot of things that go wrong. Because one thing going wrong can't beat the Chiefs. It's got to be a couple different things that have just gone downhill and made it to be actually much worse.
Yeah, when you play the Chiefs, you have to win by a shootout. If you don't play a shootout with Kansas City, it's a long day. So that's how everybody looks at it. Like, you guys are going to mostly pass the ball. Sometimes you may run the ball here every now and then, but it's like good luck when you play Kansas City. You're going to have to play a good shootout with them.
Well, that's the problem. In that AFC Championship game, Jerick McKinnon, our running back, who was electric in the playoffs, was averaging 6.2 or 6.4 yards a carry. And we just didn't go back to him. Don't know why. It makes no sense. But if you did give him more opportunities in the second half, I think we probably would have had a different game.
Probably so. But the problem is like, you guys are not mostly like focused on the running game as much. So that's kind of like you guys got to figure out a way to be more balanced. I mean, isn't Eric Bieniemy more of a running backs coach, if I'm mistaken? Because he does have a track record as a RB's coach, and kind of like he should have been able to fix a way to get it all balanced a little bit for Kansas City.
Yeah, he is. I still think we should be a majority passing team. Like I like that because you have all the pieces to do that. That's how your offense is built. But they just completely abandoned the run. Like, I don't know if they really gave any real shot at least giving a chance for one of their running backs. And the problem was, like, Clyde, the guy that is our current RB1, I guess you could say, the draft pick from a couple years ago, first rounder, he isn't better than a lot of the other guys that we could have played. Like, for whatever reason, he might have more talent, but in our offense, he just doesn't fit for – what the Chiefs are trying to do.
Yeah, you guys just need a good fit for this offense. But like you said, Jerick McKinnon, I don't know. This guy just wasn't everything for us, but maybe he could do good for you guys if you guys use him a lot. I think he's
healthy. He's really good, actually.
Yeah, he can catch the ball at the backfield. He's tough to tackle, but he just hasn't panned out with all these injuries, man, and that's what sucks.
Yeah, I agree.
So name at least one free agent target that you want Kansas City to get. Like somebody that comes to mind that would be on your guys' team cap space deal that you want to get.
Aside from Marcus Williams, Juju Smith-Schuster. I think the Chiefs will sign him.
With the cap space you guys got, if I'm Juju Swister, man, I'm probably say, man, I go from Ben Roethlisberger to Patrick Mahomes. Sign me in, man. I want to go down KC, man. Hell yeah, that's what he would probably want to say.
And he's not even going to make that much money. I think it's going to be a really good deal.
Yeah, it should be. But if anybody like a Juju Swister, man, I'll go to KC, man. I'm gonna go catch ball from Mahomes. Why not? That's something that he should do, man. That's an intriguing target, and that would be like more like your possession receiver, and he would be a good complement for this offense for Tyreek Hill, because you need that one possession receiver. You got that burner, and then you got Kelsey catching the ball, and then you just need another good other receiver. But I mean, as far as your guys' depth, you guys got this. What is it? Byron Pringle and that other dude, forget that other dude's name. The one you guys got, Mark Robinson, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Demarcus Robinson is trash. I hope he gets fired out of a cannon. I don't want to see him back. But Byron Pringle is actually pretty good. For a number 3 wide receiver, he's pretty solid. I think Mecole Hardman will probably take a jump next year.
Oh yeah, another guy like him. Yeah, Hardman.
Yeah, I wish we would have taken Deebo Samuel over Mecole Hardman, but it is what it is.
Man, I didn't even think of it that way. But did you guys draft it before we got him?
Yep.
Damn. So you guys pick Hardman over Deebo, man. Deebo was right in you guys' hands. So I guess I can't say much about the about the Asante Samuel Jr. pick, man, because we went with the guard. We traded down with the Raiders for that spot, and we could have got the best corner in the draft.
Yeah. You live and you learn. But, yeah, I would have much rather had Deebo Samuel. And maybe I was just me, but I don't think really Deebo was that great up until, like, maybe it was this year. He kind of exploded.
Well, because they didn't use him much as a runner during those seasons. But, like, in his rookie year, he had 800 yards. He was, like, our other go-to receiver. He was very used a little bit as a runner. But then the other previous season, he was injured, so he missed a lot of the games. But once he had a full healthy season, this season he started being utilized a lot more than expected. So Deebo to me was like a questionable pick at one point because I wasn't sure about him because I'm like saying, man, enough of these small damn receivers. I want that big body guy, that 6'3" guy. But I guess I'm good with Deebo as long as talk about Kareem Humphrey. That's the guy I wanted out of the draft, too. That was one of the guys I liked. But, man, you guys got him.
He's the best center in football. Like, he is insanely good. Kareem Humphrey is very good at football.
And I think he will be the best at that position for decades for you guys, man. That guy is a beast, and I'm just surprised that it took him to the third round to get picked, and the Chiefs just had to beat that team, man. That had to be a good pick right there.
I think we drafted at the end of the second, but he was basically a third-round draft because we picked at the end of the second. So yeah.
Oh, so it was the end of the second, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it worked out fairly well for the Chiefs. Drafted 3 cornerstones of their team this year. They got Nick Bolton, who's going to be really, really good at linebacker. Creed Humphrey at center, and then I don't know if you've heard about, but Trey Smith at right guard. Trey Smith is really good too.
Oh yeah, the guy from Tennessee. I think you got him in the late rounds.
He was a second-round talent that went in the 6th.
Damn, went down to the 6th. I wonder why he dropped. I guess it had to do with his performance or whatever he did.
He had blood clots in college, so the Chiefs just took a chance, and he's been good.
Yeah, that's what happens with this, man. You gotta roll the dice and hope he pays off, even if he goes down.
Yeah.
Man, we're just hoping we get that. But as far as we get to that final conclusion, man, I'm gonna appreciate you on the show. I want to give you your introduction for your last talking with the audience, and then we can go on a high note, man. Appreciate you on, but
what do you want me to do?
Just do an introduction, like tell everybody thank you and all that stuff.
I appreciate you guys for watching this video. I appreciate CG for having me on. It's been a blast talking about the Chiefs and the Niners, and you guys can find me on Twitter. That's at KC Sports Report. Instagram is KC_Sports Report. I got a website that's kcsportsreport.com. A lot of these articles are getting pumped out to see some of the written content. I wrote about Travarius Ward that'll be up later today. So if you Niners fans out there want to see anything about that, I will get that posted, and you can take a look at that later. But yeah, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. So as always, CG Ruthless Sports and KC Sports Report is out. And you already know, go Niners.